Let's dive into one of the biggest, highest stakes battles in the tech world right now. The race to build a true, fully autonomous robotaxi. And look, this isn't just about cool cars or the future of driving. This is a fight for a market that is almost unimaginably huge.
And that is the number that has everyone's attention. $1 trillion. That's the estimated prize for winning the robotaxi race. A number so massive it's fueled a decade of insane innovation, huge investments, and, well, more than a few spectacular failures.
You see, when a prize that big is on the table, everybody wants a piece of it. But the challenge of actually getting there is so immense, the path to victory is already littered with the ghosts of companies that tried and failed.
And that's really the key thing to understand here. Building a safe, scalable robotaxi service is so unbelievably hard that most of the early competitors have already tapped out. They're just gone.
I mean, just look at the timeline of the fallen. Back in 2020, Uber, who was an early frontrunner, completely pulled the plug after a bunch of setbacks. Then you had Cruise, right? Backed by the giant General Motors. They were actually the first to launch a major service in the US. But after a really serious incident in 2024, GM yanked their funding. The field has narrowed a lot.
And after all that dust is settled, the ring has basically been cleared for two main heavyweights. You've got Tesla and you've got Waymo. And each one has a radically different plan to win that trillion-dollar prize. So, let's meet the contenders.
On one side, you have the ultimate disruptor, Tesla. And on the other, you have the slow, methodical OG, Waymo. But this is so much more than a business rivalry. This is a fundamental clash of ideas. Two completely different philosophies about how to build the future.
And this table really lays out just how different their DNA is. I mean, Waymo started way back in 2009 as the Google self-driving project. They've been laser-focused on just robotaxis from day one. Tesla, of course, comes from the world of consumer electric cars, trying to add full self-driving as a future. One is backed by the colossal might of Alphabet, the other is powered by the public markets, and of course, the vision of Elon Musk.
And nowhere is that philosophical difference clearer than in the actual technology itself. It really all boils down to a pretty simple question. If you're going to build an artificial driver, should it see the world like a human, or should it have superhuman senses?
Okay, so Tesla's approach is pure vision. Their argument is simple. Humans drive with two eyes, so a car should be able to drive with cameras. That's it. Waymo's philosophy is the polar opposite. They believe true safety requires what are essentially superhuman senses, a whole suite of sensors, yeah, including cameras, but also things like LIDAR and radar to precisely measure the distance and speed of everything around it. This table shows you the real-world impact of that split. A Tesla uses 8 cameras, period. A Waymo uses 29 cameras plus 11 other sensors. But look at that last row. That's the number that changes everything. The hardware in a Tesla costs around $400. For Waymo, it's a staggering $12,000. That single cost difference is absolutely central to their entire strategy.
And you really don't have to guess where Tesla stands on this. Elon Musk made it crystal clear back in 2019. He called LIDAR, the key sensor that Waymo relies on, lame, friggin' stupid, and unnecessary. This is the definition of an aggressive, all-in bet on a vision-only future.
Now, this tech divide totally changes how they operate. Waymo is painstakingly slow. We're talking years spent pre-mapping every single street in a city to create a safe, virtual boundary, a geofence, that their cars cannot leave. Tesla, true to form, just creates its maps on the fly as it drives. It's way more flexible, sure, but it can be a massive disadvantage in poor visibility, like heavy fog.
So this huge technological divide flows right into their business strategy. And honestly, it plays out exactly like the classic story of the tortoise versus the hare. You've got one who is slow and steady, and another who is betting everything on a massive, rapid sprint to the finish line. And if you just look at the scoreboard right now, it's not even a contest. Waymo, the tortoise, is already giving 250,000 rides per week across multiple cities, and Tesla, the hare, they're just barely starting public trials. The difference on the ground today is just overwhelming.
So how did Waymo build such a massive lead? By being incredibly, excruciatingly slow and careful. They tested for years in quiet suburbs before they even dreamed of attempting a major city. Each new city is a multi-year project of mapping and testing. For Waymo, it is all about achieving perfection in one place before even thinking about the next.
Okay, so you're probably thinking, how can Tesla possibly compete with those numbers? Well, this is their whole counter-argument.
the exponential bet. They argue that once they finally solve the software problem, they can scale almost overnight. They already have millions of camera-equipped cars on the road that could, potentially, be activated with a single software update. They own the charging network. They have service centers. They believe they can just flip a switch and leapfrog Waymo in an instant.
So that brings us to the big question, right? After looking at the tech, the strategy, the whole shebang, who really has the edge in this trillion-dollar race?
Let's just break it all down. Waymo has the dominant lead today with robust, redundant technology, but its growth is slow and methodical. Tesla is way behind right now, but its lower-cost tech and its giant existing fleet give it this massive, instantaneous scaling potential. It all comes down to this. Waymo's playing a game of patient perfection, while Tesla is making a high-speed gamble on a software breakthrough.
And that's really what this entire trillion-dollar battle boils down to. It's a fundamental question about how you build the future. Will it belong to the company that patiently and perfectly builds a brand new system from the ground up, or will it be won by the company that takes a massive, high-speed bet aiming to transform millions of existing cars overnight? The answer is going to define the next 100 years of how we get around.